Okay, hey everybody. It's Tony Botchglupo. I've got Danielle here from CREED63. Danielle, you were about to launch into an update on how things are going, but maybe just take a step back and tell folks who kind of tuning in for this who you are, what's your story, what are you building?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. So my story is in 2018, I had the opportunity to purchase a building from one of my mentors. Her name was Helen Shores Lee, and she was a judge that I clerked for. And the significance of the property is that her father was Arthur Shores, who was Martin Luther King's attorney. So she gave me the opportunity to be able to purchase property that was near and dear to her heart, that was in her family. Essentially, she brought this for her dad, and this was actually the last building that he practiced in until he passed away. Unfortunately, she actually passed away in the middle of the sale, so she never got a chance to actually see me own it. But I made her three promises when she offered to sell it to me. The first was that the building would always remain in her father's name, who was Arthur Shores. Number two, lawyers would always have an affordable place to practice law.
Mm.
And number three, we would somehow activate the civil rights district. Now, Tony, when you came on because those first two were easy, right? The building was already in the name of her father. There were already, lawyers here practicing, so it was already income generating. But I needed your help because I did not know what to do. So we went to Urban Impact, and Urban Impact said, let's have community focus groups. And so I was kind of talking to you and Urban Impact simultaneously at the same time. And you said, Danielle, you really need to create a community. Like that is what co-working is really designed to do, to help people, get into spaces that they can collaborate and they want to be there. And so of course, I joined your program, and you provided me with documents and, tables and things that I needed to consider. And so that is literally how we started. And so from those focus groups, I was able to take that information and create a co-working space called CREED63. And CREED63 is an acronym for Community Resources, Entrepreneurship, Education, and Development. And the 63 is significant because of the location. So remember I said activate the civil rights district. So I am the only private property owner in the historic monument district of the civil rights district in Birmingham, Alabama. So I am across the street from the Civil Rights Institute, the A.G. Gaston Motel, and most notably, unfortunately, the 16th Street Baptist Church where the four little girls were killed.
Mm.
So that when you look out the window or when you're doing any work here, that is the place that you're coming to. That is what, the heaviness that's here. And so that's why I wanted to do something to really activate this area. So this building itself in 2006, I believe, the Department of Interior declared it to be a contributing structure to the civil rights movement. So if you ever see any of those images of the children's marches, because those were children marching in the 60s, with them getting hosed by the police officers and with the dogs, that actually took place on this building. So this building is in a lot of historical pictures that depict what happened. So the 63, I intentionally added that to the name because when I said the name, I wanted to have an intentional conversation about where we are and what happened.
Mm.
So that's why it's called CREED63, because in 1963, so much stuff happened that was pivotal not only to this area, but to civil rights and human rights within the United States. So that is a nutshell of what I had to build on and why I decided to create a co-working space. I know for a lot of people, their reasoning for creating a co-working space is different. Mine was that I was upholding a promise to someone, and I needed your help to figure out what in the heck am I getting into and how do I start this?
Incredible, incredible. And so you took over that building. We started having conversations. You started speaking with this organization, Urban Impact, which we know has been instrumental. How did things play out through the development of the space and eventually the launch?
Yeah, so you and I started talking, I think in 2019, because I do know that I came and I talked to your community, because I at the time I was a part of it too, in May of 2020 when everything was happening, with George
Hmm.
Floyd, and we talked about that. Um, so from 2019 up until June of 2021, that was my development period. So it took about 2 years. Um, and the the biggest, and I'm not gonna say the biggest hurdle, when I started to design everything, I was trying to make it as automated as possible because I have a full-time job, and I'm a lawyer. So I knew that it would be really difficult to try to cultivate and create this community space if I wasn't here. Um, so we use software called Proximity. And this is not an endorsement for them, like, do your research, figure out who you like. But for me, in trying to automate everything, they were a no-brainer. They had an automated door system. It was easy for people to book. So it took me from ordering furniture to just getting everything going. It took me about, I started in February of 2021, and then we opened the doors in June of 2021. And guess what I did after that, Tony, when I opened the doors?
What'd you do?
I had this nice, fancy grand opening, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. It
Yeah.
was like, my mindset was, the goal was to get open. My mindset wasn't, okay, now I got to be here every day, or now we are open. Like, people are going to be coming to see you.
Yeah.
So for 2 weeks, and I'm being totally transparent, for 2 weeks, I was not here.
Yeah.
No one was here. And in that 2 week period, my father had a heart attack.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so he came for the grand opening, and then 2 weeks later, he had a heart attack. So I had to leave Birmingham and go back home to DC. And people started calling. I'm in the ICU with my dad, and people are calling me about co-working memberships, which was fine. They had no clue, but
Yeah.
I had no clue either. And
Yeah.
so we have four things here. We have co-working, virtual offices, private offices, and a podcast studio. So there was always a young man who was going to come in and work part-time in the studio, because that's not my area of expertise at all. And so I just so happened to talk to him, and he had lost his job. And he was actually my weight loss consultant at Jenny Craig. And so when he told me he lost his job, I said to him, I said, if you can tell women for the last 7 years that they need to lose weight and how to do it, I think you can sell co-working memberships. It's like, I, I am in DC right now with my dad, in ICU, trying to get through, his heart attack situation. Would you be open to going down to the space and just sitting in there? Because we had no policies and procedures. He didn't know anything about proximity. So when I tell you getting started, like, opening is one thing, but then like that first membership or trying to troubleshoot people actually paying for something, that was a totally different ball game.
Hmm.
Um, so we've learned together. And so I told him, I said, your mission is going to be to get everything in my head out of my head so that you know what to do.
Yep.
And and here we are now. June will be 3 years. We have 488 members. We have 235 that are paid monthly subscribers, and we are at 100% occupancy for all of our private offices. And we produce 7 podcasts out of here every month.
Whoa. That's amazing. Whoa. Okay, every one of those things I want to talk more about, but congratulations overall. What an amazing journey. How do you feel? I could see you beaming a little bit.
I am. And Tony, we
Yeah.
just purchased last June our second location, which is 100,000 square feet.
Whoa. Oh, so you want more.
Now, what's happening is we're turning people away.
Yeah.
Um, we are turning people away. And what I realized was that we are really here to help small businesses grow and thrive. The blessing in this place was that it was already income generating with the law offices being on the other side of the building. This building is 14,000 square feet. And so I took 5,000 square feet of that and made it into the co-working space. And then in January, I took 1,200 square feet of the 14,000 and made an event center. That's a low cost event center. So for these small businesses that will have, that might be a nonprofit and they need to have board meetings, or something nice like a fundraiser, but they don't have the budget for, a big extravagant rental fee. We've made that space a part of their membership. So I feel great because this is, at this point, Tony, this is bigger than me.
Mm.
I was thinking last week, this place gets so energized. And I was thinking last week, what if we weren't here? Where would all these people go? Like, what would they do?
Yeah, I've thought that many times. Yeah, like maybe there would be somewhere else, but maybe they would just not be there.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so to bridge that for me a little bit, like you had hired this person, what was their name?
His name is Eric Flowers. He's our
Eric.
community manager.
So you
Mm-hmm.
and Eric started working together, and Eric got to work, you got to work, you came back from DC, I imagine, and you were able to help and get things rolling. And um how did you find these people, or did they start finding you?
It was such a whirlwind when we first got started. Like I said, I wasn't here. We were doing everything over the phone. And we had because it was just he and I, we didn't have the capacity to do any marketing.
Mm.
So what I to answer your question, I think there was a true need that we were fulfilling, and a true sense of, going back to something you taught me, a true sense of community, of people being able to come together and seeing the value in collaboration. So,
That's amazing. So what did you do? How did you communicate to people the community side of it? Because sometimes it can be hard for people to understand that if they haven't seen it before.
yeah. So, what we did was I took the acronym, and inside of the acronym CREED, I created programming that brought people together in different respects. One of the first things I did, going back to something you taught me, was a work sprint. And of
Yay.
course, yeah, yeah. People were like, what is that? What is a work sprint? I was like, it's just an intentional time to come together and work. And because I'm a lawyer, I added a little bit of sauce to it. And I said, when we have a work sprint, you will have, and I'm here, you'll have services. So if you have something legal that you need reviewed during the work sprint, you'll
Huh.
set up an appointment or a time slot, and then we'll work through those things. And then I brought an accountant on board, and we had her doing the same thing. So we've created a true ecosystem, of its own self, that it is managing itself without us even doing anything at this point.
So you had people where once you were spreading the word, you leveraged your own expertise as a lawyer, and you made use of programming to say, okay, I'm not just renting office space, I'm creating an environment where you can come get more work done, get answers to your questions, get help, assistance with your business. And between yourself as a lawyer and an accountant, and those are very desirable people for business owners to get in a room with. So I imagine people made really good use of that generous offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then not only that too, another thing that I did was I leveraged the resources of small business programming. So like Urban Impact. So now Urban Impact, at the time when they did the focus group, they were a 4-person team. They were just really focused on the Fourth Avenue Business District. Now that I believe they are a 6-person team with over a $2 million budget, they're able to be a small business lender. They actually now have an office here in CREED.
Mm,
and they have small business cohorts, everything from starting your small business all the way up to legacy businesses, businesses who've been in business, 25 years plus,
mm.
helping them. So I've really been able to, by way of us having so many small businesses here, we've been able to leverage and create programming based on the needs of so many people coming through here.
It's an amazing thing because it's something that co-working spaces, a lot of them attempt to do, and some of them do well, but you seem to have really cracked a good system of growing the value and the influence of the community the more people join. So you're saying more people joined, they had more to offer. And so you
Mm-hmm.
turned around and made that part of what the community had to offer other people. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the directory, the good thing about the software system we're using, it has a directory component. And so when people are registering and just coming by for a tour, we tell them we don't know who's looking at the directory, but be sure that you fill it out and you tell people who you are, how to contact you, what your business does. And there are people who now they just use our directory for different service providers and connecting with various small businesses that we, again, I could have somebody come in here, tomorrow and say, yeah, I talked to such and such and I found them on your directory. And of course, we wouldn't know that unless they told us. Another thing that's happened is that, I tell people now the goal is now for you to stay. The
Mm,
goal is for you to come here, get what you need, and then help us create economic vitality and more businesses in Birmingham, to go out and to open your own brick and mortar, to sign a lease, to hire people. Um, so we've created this big machine of getting people ready to be able to do that, which includes helping them with business credit,
hmm.
establishing bank accounts. Everybody's membership comes with 4 annual consultations to where they can either get legal advice or small business advice as a part of their membership.
That's great. So four consultations also means that you get an opportunity to check in 4 times a year with your members, see, kind of assess the health of their business, troubleshoot whatever might be coming up for them, and ultimately try to provide some guidance.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do. And then for the podcast component, because that's Eric's expertise, he actually, every Tuesday night, we offer free podcasting classes. So if you're in Birmingham and you want to know how to create a podcast, every Tuesday for an hour and a half, you can come and learn how to do it for free. And then, if you like the presentation, you can decide which membership package fits you. If you just want to show up as the talent, and
Mm.
just record your show, we can do that. We can edit it and produce it in-house. Or if you have some experience working the equipment, you can just get hours or pay for a smaller package.
Amazing. And you said you have now 7 shows based out of there?
I have 7 shows. Yeah.
That's incredible. What
Yeah,
kind of
we have.
shows are they?
So we have a young lady who has a journaling podcast.
Really?
CJ, yeah, that's Javasia. We have Intravenous 205. That is our most popular show. Actually, that is the most popular podcast in Birmingham. And that show has brought us a lot of visibility because of the host, Iva, he's so well connected throughout the state that we've had literally every judge you can think of, every commissioner, the mayor has been here. He's recorded here at least 5 or 6 times. They have a session called Inside City Hall. The producer of the First 48, I don't know if you remember that TV show,
Hmm.
every newscaster, everyone has been through here and has been on that show in some capacity. The owners of some of the smaller league, we have a baseball team here. We have a soccer team. We have a basketball team. You know, they're not NBA teams, but they're minor leagues. But they all their coaches and their owners have been through here to record on the show as well. So, and then of course, lifestyle shows. We have I think maybe 3 or 4 lifestyle shows. One particularly that focuses on businesses called The Black Book. Um, we have a young lady who does a sports podcast. Of course, you know, Alabama is known for the University of Alabama football. So
Sure.
she's a fan of that team, and that's what her show focuses on. Um, and then we have another young man. He just signed up recently. He's a local hairstylist, but he has a huge following, and so he has a lifestyle show. So yeah,
Oh my goodness. It's like your own media network of people,
yeah,
different
yeah,
topics.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and okay, so wait, you said the show was called Intravenous?
Intravenous 205. Mhm.
What is the name? What's the meaning of the name?
You know, well, his name is Iva, and then Birmingham's area code for phone numbers is 205.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was like something medical related at first. And so now, okay.
No.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
that's funny. Very cool. And so, all right. So I'm sure we're obviously, we're not going to be able to get every detail of your story, but in the journey between member number one and member number 400, I'm sure, have had some ups and downs, some adjustments that you've had to make in terms of your approach. What are some of the more kind of recent changes that you've been looking at to kind of continue to drive growth?
Recent changes. So we are getting into more programming
Hmm.
because we realized that the only way small businesses can afford us is if they know what their numbers are like and they can see longevity in their small business. Um, Tony, when I tell you I could write a book on what not to do and what to do, like that is, we could talk all day about that, because what people don't realize is that a lot of people think we're a nonprofit. I have to tell people all the time, no, no, no. We are a for profit, we are an LLC. But what people don't realize is that not only are we a small business, but I'm a property owner as well.
Yeah.
So wearing both of those hats in terms of building maintenance, that's been our biggest pitfall in terms of expenses, you know, especially having a building that's over 100 years old.
Hmm.
Granted, it was redone 6, but it's still 100 years old. Um, but yeah, the second location that's on the horizon. Um, and we're learning more about different industries that actually need co-working
Mm.
and the transformation of what co-working looks like. For example, people who have technical skills or they do things with their hands, you know,
Hmm.
commissary kitchens, workshops for people who make things, not necessarily just a business setting to where someone comes with a desk and computer. So that's what's on the horizon for us. But that was one of the things that we've kind of learned to do. Um, we want to help everybody. So we have literally used every square inch of this building to be able to accommodate folks as best as we can. There's a YouTube channel, popular kids YouTube series. I can't even think of the name of it because I didn't know they were recording here. I just so happened to be here on a Saturday and I see these kids acting in the space and I'm like, what's going on? They know me. They're like, hey, Miss Danielle, you're normally not here when we're recording. And so we have kids in here recording their YouTube shows. And this show, they have like 1 million followers on YouTube. And when you look at their videos, they're recording out of CREED63. So it's been a journey. I mean, if any of your members have specific questions, I am an open book. I'd be more than happy. Even you know, if you, hey, Danielle, what worked, what didn't work, you know, what can I do to, you know, help improve the program? But everything you taught me, Tony, is the foundation of what we have here. Like without you offering to be a consultant, and I talk about you all the time, without you offering that consulting service, I don't know how I would have gotten started because I never would have thought of the community aspect and the people and the person aspect of a co-working space.
Wow. Well, I'm so grateful, Danielle. I mean, there's, when I do this work, it's in the hopes that someone like yourself, you know, learns from whatever it is that I have to offer, and that you're able to apply it as effectively as you have. And you've been more effective at implementing what I've learned than I have, and that's a beautiful thing to see. That's what I want to see, the same way that you said you could write a book about everything you've gotten wrong. That's basically how I did it too. I took everything I learned, every mistake I made, and tried to reverse it so that, I could save you that trouble, and you can make different mistakes, and we advance this movement forward as a result. So it's just so
Yeah.
encouraging, and really, I'm just so appreciative that you're doing the work, and that you're telling the story, because we want to inspire other people. This is a time right now when uh you know other people are trying to figure out, how do we make this a sustainable model? Should I even get into co-working? How do I communicate it? So uh, success stories are really, really important.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you. And I want you to know too that your legacy as well is woven into each of these businesses. So, I mean, that's a testament to you.
Well, I do appreciate that. Yeah, it's so funny because, like I'm sure I will come and visit one day, like we'll find the time. But a lot of times there's just, I won't ever see it, or I'll go years without seeing it. So the fact that you reached out, the fact that you told me that had this success, and that the work that you did with me played a big role in that, is super valuable to me, because otherwise I wouldn't know. you know
Yeah.
so that's encouraging to me. It tells me that the work that we're doing is making a difference, and it's helping. So that's great.
Mhm.
um what else would you say you would recommend for somebody? You did mention that there's a lot that you've learned over the years. If somebody else is thinking of starting or just getting started, yeah, what comes to mind?
Well, I'll say three things. Number one, know where you are. Have those
Mm,
before you just, oh, this is a great space for me to open up a co-working space. Have those focus groups. Find out if that's really what's needed. And if you do open up a co-working space, find out what they want in the space. The biggest thing that we found from our focus group was that they wanted a place that had vibrancy
mm,
and culture. And that was literally written on the surveys, the word vibrancy. And so if you walk around the space, we have inspirational words all throughout the
mm,
space
mm,
that are in different colors, red, yellow, blue, but they're quotes and they're sayings, and they are inspirational phrases. In the large co-working space, we have a mural on the wall that says, think big.
mm,
Success on the other side of the wall. So everywhere that you go in this space, we wanted to create vibrancy and inspiration. The second thing is, especially if you're like me and you don't have a board or you don't have a lot of money to get started, be creative about your funding sources,
mm,
and how you are able to purchase. We have a conference room and a training room. Chairs and tables are expensive. I think I spent, and we can always jump on another call, and I can literally go over our budget from 2021 when I was ordering everything. But creating that budget and being very intentional about how you finance things starting out is going to be crucial, because like I tell my staff, people are paying for space. So we want it to be nice. We want it to be clean and inviting, and we want to have quality materials here that they're sitting at in good chairs.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
and
is an investment to
lastly,
get there. Yeah.
and then lastly, I would say carve out your niche. Like what programs or what can you offer once you have those focus groups that people want? I'll give you an example. So of course, I told you we had the work sprints, but then we also had a book club. We had Wind Down Wednesday, and we had Girls Night Out, because what we noticed was in creating that community, sometimes when people come in here, they're busy working and they can't connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
connect, like, I mean, genuinely just sit down with you, you know, for 10 or 20 minutes and talk to you, because if you're in here, you're probably working. And if they're in here, they're probably working. So
Yeah.
we had to create intentional um, moments to where members could get together. And what that did for our business model was that created value, because now they know, oh, I can come to these events because I'm a member. So
Yeah.
we actually created community membership based on that, to where you can just have access to the things we do, but you don't necessarily have a co-working membership or, you know, a virtual office or office space. So those are the three things.
And that's beautifully put. And I'll just want to expand on that last bit about community membership. How does that model work? What's it cost? How many people do you have on that?
Yeah, so the community membership is designed for people who have moved out of the space, or maybe professionals who they might not be interested in starting a small business of their own, or people who they might be a legacy business. They might have been around, you know, 15 or 25 years, but there's no other opportunity for them to really connect with entrepreneurs and small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that membership is a very low cost membership. It's only $24.99 a month, and it gives them access to be able to come to the events. It doesn't give them reservable resource time, and
Right.
reservable resources for are, you know, the signing room with notary services, the conference room or the training room or the event space. But it
Right.
does give them the opportunity to come and connect when we have special events and member offers.
Yeah. I mean, at that price point, it's affordable to just about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the value that it provides, even though it's not going to provide, workspace or a lot of the core amenities, um, the value of participating in the programming for someone who has use for it has got to be very high.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's been a
Yeah.
popular option for you.
It has, as people matriculate out, that number is not as high as our virtual offices. Our virtual offices is what gives us the bulk. We have 200 people, actually 205 members inside of that one membership. And that membership also consists of, depending on what they needed with their virtual office, that could be a certain amount of hours in the co-working space. That could also be a certain amount of hours for, you know, meeting with clients or reservable resources.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've actually got two different kinds of memberships for people who don't necessarily work there regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And how does I know you said there's kind of multiple options, but what's kind of the core offering of the virtual membership?
Virtual membership is their actual storefront. So all we have 200 addresses approved and verified by the U.S. Postal Service,
Hmm.
to where they can. It's not a storefront. I mean, not a PO box, because we're not a post office, but it is actual. It is an actual office that they have. And so the Postal Service, though, they have arrow locks on the actual on the, sorry, somebody's printing something behind
That's
me.
okay.
They have arrow locks on all of the boxes, and the Postal Service actually puts the mail into the boxes. So from a staff perspective, that's not something that we have to do, because the U.S. Postal Service is just doing their job with the virtual offices.
That's amazing that you're able to set that up so the postal service comes in, they service the boxes directly, and you don't even really have the ability to get into them. They handle it.
Yeah, we don't at all. Now, if someone loses a key, of course, you know, we can help them with that. But
Right. Right. Well, it's great because with virtual offices, it's so easy to get bogged down with a lot of mail. So it's nice to have a setup that is sustainable in that way.
Yeah, and we have a really good postal carrier, and he tells us, he'll say, you know, hey, such and such, this box number is getting full. They probably
Yeah.
need to come in and see you because he
Yeah.
understands what we do.
Right.
So yeah.
A real neighborhood center. Even the postal worker is there and they know everybody, and that's great. Um, and what's the price point like on the virtual?
Those are 39.99.
39.99. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So yeah, so I'm thinking because I think a lot about what sustainable co-working space models look like. A lot of times, people struggle to break even, they struggle to turn a profit. And it sounds like based on what you've done, first of all, at the building level, that you've allocated a certain amount of space for tenants, a certain amount of space for co-working, and a certain amount of space now for events as well. So there's a mix.
Mm-hmm.
But then within the co-working that you've got kind of an alumni membership, you've got a virtual membership, and that those are very popular and I imagine relatively profitable. There's some overhead to dealing with people joining and leaving, but it sounds like you've got a solid uh, software system that helps to automate that. Is that basically right?
And to be honest with you, Tony, just thinking of the cost perspective, other than the key and recycling that particular virtual office, there's really no overhead for us if a member leaves.
Interesting, because they cancel themselves essentially.
Yeah, they cancel themselves, but up front we collect a key deposit. So as soon as for any member, so we collect a $10 key deposit. So if you cancel your membership with less than 30 days, you don't receive the deposit back. It's only $10. Or if you don't bring the key back after after you leave, then you've
Right,
essentially already paid for the key. We just
right,
have to get another one next person, but then they have to pay a key deposit as well. So yeah, we don't have a high cost for people who decide to terminate their memberships.
right. Yeah, that's huge, and also just kudos to you for having such an effective sales process for a city the size of Birmingham to have 400 members. I mean, that's a significant portion of the city, that you have to reach in order to get to that level of membership. So that's huge. It must be
Thank
I mean, it must be very popular in town just for people to be able to say that they're members.
it is, and what's happening too, our next location, we're going to have at least 600 virtual offices and 3 studios, including a creator studio, which will have a video component as opposed to just audio for podcasting.
Oh, sure.
And then we'll have 40 private offices.
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is going to be amazing. And what do you have like an idea of what the timeline is looking like for that project?
No, because it's 100,000 square feet of space and it sits across 3 parcels. It is massive. So we're talking about, we had to break it out into 5 phases. So we're working on phase 1 right now. But I'm anticipating within the next 36 months, we actually entered into an economic redevelopment deal with the city of Birmingham in
Mm.
order to purchase the property.
Yeah, they must be very excited to work with you now that you've proven yourself with your current project. They want to see
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah.
That's great. Great. Well, I would certainly love to get down there for the grand opening for that one at least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be sure to send you an invitation.
Yeah, we'll make an event out of it, and I'm so excited for you. What else is exciting in terms of what you've got coming up next? I know you obviously this big project is taking up a lot of your time. Anything else that's kind of on your mind?
Well, we just got a grant
Oh,
for to hire additional staff. and to also create programming. So we are creating two programs for small businesses. One is called PACE, providing access to capital equity,
Mm.
and that is going to walk small business owners through their financials. So they'll have 6 weeks in class, they'll have 2 weeks mentoring, and then they'll have 6 weeks one-on-one with a CPA or accountant. And then the next program that we just got funded for is called the Smart Business Certification. And the Smart Business Certification is really going to look at your business from a holistic perspective and really just dive into what your business does, intentionally poking holes in it. So it looks at everything from how are you on marketing? How do your customers see you? How are you legally? Are you set up properly?
Mm.
Sustainability. And then also the part of that program that I'm most excited about is your community impact. So any of the businesses that go through that, it'll be a 1-year certification. You can get certified every year as a smart certified business.
Oh wow. Not just helping with the business, but helping with impact, with tracking and describing the impact of it.
Exactly. And going back to what you said earlier, I think what happens with co-working is that you can't do co-working in a silo.
Mm.
You have to add that internal and external community aspect to co-working. And I think that's what's made us successful.
Yeah, say more. So we've talked about it a little bit, but can you say a little bit more about it now as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to those focus groups, that we had the buy-in from the community. And when I mean the community, I don't just mean the local neighborhood. I mean from the entrepreneurs who do business here. And so if you have a business that has a social responsibility aspect to it, whatever it is that you choose to do, then it makes it easier for people to want to help you, for you to
Mm.
convey your message and your why. And for us, our why is very simple, but people understand that we're not just doing this for us. At the end of the day, we are a formed LLC, but it's also contributing to our local community
Yeah,
by way of, the programming, that we have and what we've been able to create. So for other businesses, we want them to be able to be partners in, creating a better community. What community is good if all you have are just businesses, then no one's giving back.
absolutely. Well, and it's abundantly clear that the success of your business is completely tied to the success of the people who are part of your community. That you can't you can only succeed if those people are also growing and successful themselves. And so the the um
Mm-hmm.
the incentives are deeply aligned, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes it, I think, really powerful, when you're a business owner and you don't necessarily have all the resources you need or the experience you need, that you can fall back on the fact that there are other people in the room who themselves have a lot of expertise and a lot to offer, who are there and not just your customers. And I'm sure you could,
Mm-hmm.
lots more specific stories of people who have lent their
Oh yeah.
expertise.
Mm-hmm. We have one particular co-working member. He's one of our I think I sent you the video what the news just did on us about 2 weeks ago. But he
Hmm.
has a business called Birmingham Jumpstart. It's a literacy organization. And he is our ideal member, meaning he was working a 9 to 5 at a corporate company, and his business took off so much that he literally needed to stop working in order for him to focus on the business. But he was able to grow and become sustainable because he had a place to meet clients and he had a place to do business. And we're open 24 hours, so he had a place to go. And then he takes advantage of the membership directory more than anybody that I could possibly think of. I mean, he's constantly connecting if he needs anything. Um, and so he's been able to get contracts with local universities, local municipalities to be able to provide literacy programs. But he is ideal member in that he's taken what we've given him and he's just run with it. And he's changed his life, which starting off is not something that we were planning on doing. I was just trying to get it open.
Yeah.
But what I realized was that the business, in order for any business to grow, it has to reach beyond your initial idea.
Mm.
And that's what has happened with us. Because, like I told you, I never planned on being here full time. And I never thought that businesses would just, you know, do more than what they were doing here other than co-working. And
Yeah.
so we've evolved, but because we have evolved, we've now been able to take these other businesses with us so that they can evolve. And so he has taken advantage. He has moved through every membership level, with the exception of a podcast. But he's moving that way, right? But he's very intentional about his spending and about what he gets involved in from a financial perspective. But he has moved through every membership level. His board meetings are here when he has them. He meets his clients here. Like, that's why I said last week I was thinking, and he was one of the people that I was thinking about. Like, if we weren't here, where would he go?
Yeah.
How would he do this? Would he have to meet people in Starbucks, which would
Yeah.
be okay, but you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but we are here. So we have another young man who he was actually in the military with me, and he retired, and he started a catering business, and he's who we hired for our grand opening to do our catering. Well, his business is taking off. He called me back in November. It's like, hey, Danielle, I know you brought a second location. I need a space. And I'm like, it's not ready. He's like, I don't care. He's like,
Like,
he's like, I am booked and busy. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, I do have a space for you. I said, it's not ready. It's not what I want, it to be right now. He said, I'll take it. So he moved into the second location already,
wow.
and is running his catering business out of there. So you just really, going back to what your initial question was, even the philanthropic portion of being a small business owner, you have to know what your community needs.
Mm.
I mean, you have to. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
then once they know that you are in it for them, then they'll tell you and they trust you. This person called you up and said, I'll take it. Basically sight unseen because they know you and
Mm-hmm.
and they trust that you are giving them the best possible circumstances for success. And then that puts you in a place that I always want co-working or any leaders to get to, which is a place where they feel a mandate. A lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're getting started, it's hard to feel. It's like I'm trying to kind of prime the pump and get people excited about doing something, but I have to do all the work to like get anybody to buy in. Once you've kind of broken through, those people are coming to you and they're beating down the
Mm-hmm.
doors. Give me more of this. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like that's
Absolutely.
exactly where you ended
Absolutely.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a good point. Going back to the other question you asked me earlier about advice, you have to duplicate yourself. And that was one of the things that I had to learn,
Mm,
meaning I can't meet every member that comes through here initially to get them signed up. And I can't convey to them my entire thought process, but I have to have people and a person on staff that can step in my shoes. They can talk like I do, of course, with their own style,
mm-hmm,
and do those same things. But then I also had to see my blind spots. Tony, I
mm.
am terrible at giving tours. I I am, and this is my space, right? I can sit here
Yeah,
and talk to you, but for me as the owner, I see it differently than
yeah,
someone who works for me, and they can because I know what I did. I know the progression of it. It's kind of like moving into a house that you thought was really, really big when you first bought it, and then once you move into it, you're like,
yeah.
oh, this house is so small.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that same thing. So duplicating yourself, um, and knowing your weaknesses. And so my weakness is tours. So Eric does a phenomenal tour. Like, I have people now. that if he's not here when I'm here, they'll tell me they're going to come back and bring their guest when he's
when
here so that
Eric's
they
here.
can give him the. I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. So, but you have to have the right people around you. You have to build your team. You can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you're describing reminds me of something that came up very early in the co-working movement that we haven't talked much about, but it's this idea of core values and you
Mm,
describing what it is that you represent. And the name of your space, I think, really speaks to that, right? That both the abbreviation and the number, that somebody else can understand that, and then they can combine that with their own experience of being in your space, meeting you, meeting the other members, and then they can then internalize that, and that's how you duplicate yourself, because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
they get it and they can explain it in ways, sometimes they explain it better than I can, right? And that's the beauty.
Yeah.
And when other people see, you know, like we're kind of used to, like, okay, well, the owner is going to talk up their thing because that's what they do. But when it's somebody who's not the owner and they're saying, this place has changed my life, this place, I can't imagine life without it, it's so incredible, it lends a certain authenticity to it, that people say, wow, this is, I could be this person. You can relate
Mm-hmm.
to somebody else who's a part of that community, a fellow community member. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Danielle, okay, I'm almost out of time. I just wanted to say real quick, could you, just for folks' edification, can you remind us a little of your background? You had mentioned being in the military. I know you've worked in the Air Force. You have an incredible career. Can you give me like the 1-2 minute version of that?
Absolutely. So, native of Washington, D.C., undergrad degrees in public relations, and went to law school, became a lawyer. And while in college, I joined the Air Force, and I'm actually still in. I am a major. I'm a major in waiting, so I've been in for 23 years. And yeah, I got in as soon as I possibly could as a teenager.
Wow.
So
Incredible. And then as while you were serving, you got your law degree.
yes, I did. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What an incredible journey. I definitely want to ask you more questions about it, but I think we should make time to continue discussing that, maybe as we talk more about the future and the next project that you're building, and that it's you've already got a person moved in, which is pretty amazing.
I know. Yep. This is month 3 for him, March. Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, Danielle, I'm going to share this out with my folks in the Newark Cities community. If you don't mind, I'd like to share this publicly as well, just have more people know your story. Um, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great. And let's catch up again real soon. And I'd love to find a way to get down there one day. We could celebrate together.
Yes, I would absolutely love that. Absolutely. And if you have any questions or your members have any questions, you know how to reach me. Actually, let me give everybody the website. It's CREED63.com. And on Instagram, we are Creed_63.
Mhm.
I will be honest, our Instagram is not all the what do you call it, bells and whistles. But it'll give you an idea of what we do, and it'll give you some images of the space. So
Wonderful. Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time to chat, and congratulations on all of your success. It really, really made my day, made my week. So thank you so much.
thank you, Tony. We are in debt to you. So for all your counseling and your mentorship and your program, it really, really it changed my life, and it changed lives of hundreds of people now. So thank you.
Well, it's an honor, and let's have another conversation again real soon.
Okay, take care. All right, bye bye.
Thanks, Danielle.